Okay, so now let's create the pages for our mini album, and I have a guide here with all the measurements. I will post them on my blog too, so you will be able to visit that post and get the measurements for yourself. The page, I will not be really explaining how to create the page because as I already told you, I used the tutorial from Ginger, my sister's scrapper, for creating the pages, and I will be giving you here only the measurements that will fit for the mini version of this Burst mini album. And I will be also showing you how to create those pages, but I will not really stop and explain in details how to use the envelope punch board, how to align the pages, how to pay attention at the how you put the paper inside the envelope punch board if it's directional. So just visit Ginger's tutorial for all those explanations. So our page will be will look like this. It will have a pocket here inside, and there will be one additional flap at the back of each page. Okay, so total it will be 6 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2 of the pages will have the tab here on top, 2 will have it in the middle, and 2 will have it at the bottom. So here I wrote for you that there will be total of 6 pages, 3 designs, 2 pages of each design, and these are the measurements for cutting the base of your pages, cutting the cardstock for it. Then you have the measurements for cutting the designer paper, and you have the envelope punch board marks for the flaps and for an additional flap. So let me just quickly show you how to do that. For the base page you will need a cardstock measuring 8 5/8 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch, scored at 4 1/8 of an inch on the long side. So let's do that now. We score it at 4 1/8. Okay, then we fold it, and to create our tab at the top of the page, top of the page, we need to punch it. Let's see, we need to punch it at 1 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so you put your cardstock like this, 1 5/8 of an inch, you punch, then you punch here. Okay, and you cut off the excess. So I will be using now, to make it quicker, I will be using my scissors. You can use your craft knife or your trimmer. Anyway, this is the first design of our page with the tab on top. For designer papers to mat all the flaps, and I'm calling this flap number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and this one will be the additional flap. And by the way, for creating it we need cardstock measuring 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch, and we will score it in 5 inch on the long side. So this is the paper, I score it at 5 inch and I fold it. Then to create the tab I need to punch it at 1 5/8 of an inch, and I'm punching on the side which is away from the score line. So 1 5/8 of an inch, and I punch on the side too. I cut off this part of the cardstock. Okay, so this is my additional flap. Actually I need to do it like this and to fold this way. Okay, so the tab will be not where the spine is, but on the opposite side. Okay, and for the pocket you will need cardstock measuring 5 3/8 of an inch, 5 3/4, I'm sorry, of an inch by 1 1/2, and you will score it in 3/8 and 5 3/8 on the long side, and at 1 1/8 of an inch on the short. So this is what we do. We score it in 3/8 and 5 3/8 and then in 1 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and you will need to cut the corners in the following way. Okay, here on the sides you will need to apply score tape, or you can use your wet glue or any type of the adhesive you prefer to work with. For the sake of the demonstration here, I will use the wet glue. Okay, so these are the parts that we need for the first design of our page with the tab on top. Now, as far as design papers are concerned, you have here all of the measurements. Okay, so you will check that on my blog. I won't do it quickly, so I will be punching now the pages I have, the papers I have, sorry. So for the first 3 flaps, I will be using the papers which measure 5 3 7/8 of an inch, and I will punch them here. Let's see, for the first flap, for the page with the tab on top, I need to align it with the mark of 1 1/2 of an inch. So this is what I do, and I punch and I cut off the excess. Okay, so this will be placed here. I will be using what I will be using, well, my wet glue, just to make it quick, and move to the rest of the things we need to do to finish our album. So okay, we have now a border of about 1/8 of an inch on all of the sides. Now for the second flap, I need the designer paper measuring still 5 inches by 3 7/8, and to get this tab on the left side on top, I need to align the designer paper in my envelope punch board with the mark of 3 1/2 of an inch. So this is what I do, and then I punch on top. Okay, and cut off this part here which we don't need. Apply the glue and glue it down. Okay, second flap done. Now this fourth flap, to cover it with the designer paper, you will need a piece measuring 5 inches by 4 1/4, and the envelope punch board mark is 1 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so if my paper will be like this, I will be punching it this way and cutting off this part. Okay, now before I glue it down to the page, actually I can already glue it down, but I can also glue down the pocket first, which is what I'll do. I will glue the pocket down first, and then I will show you why we do that. We want our pages to look beautiful and to have a good finish. And we want our work to look clean and nice. So we will glue the pocket first. And by the way, to cover it with the designer paper, I will need a piece measuring, let's see, here for a pocket, 4 7/8 of an inch by 1 inch. So this is what I have here. Okay, I'm covering it with paper, gluing it down. Now I have this piece here, which I already punched, but as you can see, it will not get inside the pocket. So what I will do, I will trim just a tiny strip of paper from this side. Then I will check once again if it fits. Still not. Okay, so I will trim a little bit more. Maybe you will need to trim 1/16 of an inch if you are doing that in your trimmer. Okay, so then you will be able to put this paper inside the pocket, and it will actually help you to achieve this nice look inside the pocket too. Okay, so let's glue it down. All right. Yeah, get there inside a little bit more. Okay. The paper that I'm using here is a thin one, so it's really challenging to stick it inside, but if you will be using a firm designer paper, you will not have that problem. Anyway, I'm aligning it and I'm leaving a spacing of 1/8 of an inch on the sides. And what we need to do next is to punch the paper for the fourth flap. And here we need our paper to be, let me think, yeah, it also needs to be, I think I have a slight mistake here, which I will rectify and fix when placing on my blog. Okay, 1 2 3, yeah, here we need, oh wait, it's okay, I just take the piece which measures 5 by 4 1/4 for this fourth flap, and for this one actually you will need a paper which measures 5 3 7/8 of an inch. So this is only my bad, but you will do it correctly. So for the envelope punch board mark on the designer paper with a tab on top, for the fourth flap we need to align it at 3 1/2 of an inch. So if my paper will be like this, I will be placing it this way and punching and cutting off the excess here. Okay, now before gluing it down, you need to first glue it down to the additional flap. So this is what I will be doing now. I will apply glue to this panel here, and I will glue down my designer paper to the panel. Okay, now I will embellish the flap with the patterned paper. And for this flap, the sizes of the patterned paper will be, let's see, here 4 7/8 of an inch by 3 3/4, and you will need 2 pieces of patterned paper for each of the flaps. So if my paper will be like this, I need to flip it and place on the punch board this way, and then to align it with the mark of 2 3/8 of an inch. 2 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, 2 3/8 of an inch. Guys, but before you punch, always think and check, double check how your paper will look like once you glue it down and on which side exactly the design will be. Okay, so now here for this side, I need to align it at the mark of 1.5. 1.5, and I punch, and I cut. Okay, apply glue. All of the envelope punch board marks are correct. Just look at your paper and think where exactly you need to punch. Okay, so this piece will go over here, but we are not gluing it down yet because first we will need to attach the pages to the spine. So this is the first design of the page with the tab on top. Now let's move to the one with the tab in the middle. I still will need a cardstock measuring for measuring 8 5/8 of an inch by 5 1/8, and I will score it at 4 1/8 of an inch on the long side. I will fold it. I will take another piece for the additional flap and I will score it at 5 inches. Okay, and I will fold it. And I will take one more piece for my pocket. I will make all the scorings. And now we can begin to assemble this one and to punch the papers. Okay, so if we want our tab in the middle, we will need to punch it at 1 3/8 of an inch from both sides, which means like this, and flip and punch and do the same here. Okay, cut off the excess from both sides. Now for that additional flap, nothing changes, and the envelope punch board mark will be at 1 5/8 of an inch. Okay, now the papers. I'm taking the one for the first flap here, and I will punch at 1 3/4 of an inch from both sides as well. We'll cut off these parts here, and I'm ready to glue it down. Okay, gluing it down. Now this here, the same thing, just think about the side you need to place with the face up once you are working with the pattern paper, but the envelope punch marks will be the same, 1 3/4 of an inch. Okay, like this. Okay, for this one here, exactly the same thing, punching at 1 3/4 of an inch from both sides, cutting off the excess, and once again, to be able to put it inside the pocket, I will trim just a tiny strip of paper, but now from both sides, as my tab is in the middle. And I will glue the pocket first. Glue the pocket first, then I will cover it with the strip of designer paper. I mean the pocket. Okay. Then I will glue the patterned paper, placing it inside the pocket and aligning, and only then pressing down to glue. Okay, now for this side we need a piece measuring 5 by 4¼ and we will punch it once again at 1 3/4 from each side. We will glue it first to our additional flap, applying the glue here on the panel. Okay, like how I need it to be, like this, yeah, here. Okay. Now I need some papers for this one, and the punch marks are 1½ or 2 3/8. Two and 3/8. Or 1½. Let's glue these down too. One and two. Okay, so I'm leaving it for now and I'm not gluing it down. So this is my second page with the tab in the middle, and what is left is the one with the tab at the bottom of the page. So I'm scoring it at 4 1/8. This piece I'm scoring at 5 inches. This one here at 3/8 of an inch, and 5 3/8 of an inch, and then at 1 1/8 of an inch. I don't need my scoring board anymore. We'll cut the corners. And I will glue my designer paper. Yep. Okay, leaving a border of about 1/8 of an inch. Let's see here, we need to punch at, always use the guide we need to punch at 1 5/8 of an inch. Okay, and for the page with the tab at the bottom, we need to align it in the envelope punch board at the mark of 3 1/2 of an inch. 3 1/2 of an inch. Okay, and here 3 1/2. Okay, this is the page. This will be the flap here. Okay, I can already glue the pocket. Like this. Okay, now let's punch some papers. For the first flap, let's see. Envelope punch board mark will be 3 1/2 if my design is here on top. 3 1/2, and I will be cutting off here. Okay, the first one is done. The second one will need to be at 1 1/2. If the design is here on top. Flap number 2. For the flap number 3, again I'm aligning it with 3 1/2 inch mark. Cutting off, and to be able to place it inside the pocket, I will be trimming a little bit from the side opposite the tab. Let's try it out. Yeah, it goes inside well, so you can glue it down. Now here, I don't have the paper. Five by 4 1/4. I will cut some more. 5 by 4 1/4. Okay. So I need to punch it at 1 1/2. My design is here on top. Okay, and I'm not gluing it down yet. I want now to glue it to the panel here on the additional flap, and if my flap will be placed like this and the paper will be here, I need to glue it down this way. And I'm spending my time working here with the plain papers, guys, for this reason, for you to remind you that you always need to check how exactly your paper will be placed on top of the page before you really glue it down. Okay, so it will be like this. Now we will cover the additional flap here, and I will align it. If it will be this way, okay, so my design will be on top, and I will be punching it now at 2 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Like this. And this one, my design will face up, and I will punch it at 1 1/2. And I will glue it down. Here you see, for example, now I applied glue not at the right part of the page, but let's do it once again. It will be glued down this way. Okay, so I need to apply the glue here. All right, so this will be the additional flap, which will go here to this side. Okay, so now then that we have all of the 3 designs, you will need to do the same things we did now once again to get another 3 pages.